Hello and welcome to Nutshell Recaps. This video explains the synopsis of the movie, Club Zero. Warning, there will be spoilers, so proceed with caution. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, it will really help our channel grow. The movie begins in a posh private school where we are introduced to Miss Novak, the nutrition instructor. It is discovered that she was just employed by the school to encourage children to eat healthily. There are a few people in her club right now, and she asks them why they joined. Helen, a young woman, declares her desire to lessen global warming and preserve the environment. Ragna, a different girl, says she wants to lose weight and be in shape for sports. Then there's Fred, who has diabetes and wants to maintain his health, and Elsa, who wants to learn discipline. At last, a student by the name of Ben claims he is only there to get points towards his scholarship. Thanking them for joining the group, Miss Novak gives a quick rundown on conscious eating. The goal is to eat less food without being hungry. She talks about the advantages of eating less and clarifies that the human body actually needs less food than is generally thought. Subsequently, Miss Novak instructs them in a breathing technique that will enable them to recognize ingredients and practice mindful eating. As soon as the pupils complete this exercise, their hunger and attitude change. Following their meeting, Miss Novak greets the principal, who extends a kind welcome to her at the school. She then gives Miss Novak the assignment of enhancing kids' eating practices. The latter expresses gratitude for the trust and gives the principal confidence that the kids are in good hands with her. Ragna is eating with her parents at her house when the scene changes. Her mother gives her weight control and overindulgence in food advice. Ragna is upset to hear this, but her father quickly clarifies that her mother didn't intend it in a bad way. After that, he inquires about her knowledge of mindful eating, and Ragna shows her parents how to do the breathing exercise. Elsa is seen eating lunch with her parents after that. Her father chastises her for acting like her mother and not eating. Elsa explains, however, that she is merely putting what she learned in school, conscious eating, into practice. Her mother is shown feeding a dog all of her meals in the interim. Elsa takes a few nibbles, runs to the toilet, and throws up what she just ate. Mom watches her do it, says nothing, and walks away. Elsewhere at school, Fred is eating lunch alone when Miss Novak approaches him. She then leads him into her office, where there is a small shrine. The two sit in front of the shrine and practice mental exercises together to cultivate mindful eating habits. During the next club session, Fred discusses how he has been eating less in recent days, which has resulted in a significant increase in his energy levels. He mentions that the change has also allowed him to reduce his insulin dose. Miss Novak is overjoyed to hear this and explains that the body goes through a process known as autophagy during a fast. The body uses its own cells as energy throughout this process, which she says is quite advantageous. She stresses that autophagy can treat illnesses, lessen weariness, and possibly add 10 to 20 years to one's life. After that, the scene switches to Elsa studying at the library. She is approached by Miss Novak, and they go on a stroll together. Elsa's teacher gives her props for her strong will and physical control at this period. Elsa acknowledges that she wishes she didn't have to eat at all, but her father makes her. Miss Novak responds that people find it frightening, and that's why society doesn't allow people who don't eat. She goes on to say that most people don't know how strong they are and think they have to eat constantly in order to survive. Helen, Elsa, and Ragna eat lunch together over potato wedges in another scene. Ragna can't resist and consumes 3 pieces, but Helen and Elsa each only eat 1. After that, she feels bad and uses the loo to throw up the meal. She apologizes after receiving criticism from her friends for her lack of self-control. Ragna later visits Miss Novak and apologizes for overindulging in food. The instructor gives her herbal tea to help curb her appetite and reassures her that it's okay to stumble occasionally. Fred is having a conversation with his foreign-born parents in the scenario that follows. He begs to come visit because he is sorely missing them. They quickly object, stating that they need him to complete his education first. Fred hangs up the phone, frustrated, and goes to dance practice, but he can't focus. Fred doesn't answer when his dance teacher notices something is off and inquires as to what transpired. Rather, he approaches Miss Novak and complains about how his parents don't appear to be concerned about him. The teacher tells the youngster he's not alone because she sincerely feels awful for him. She meets with the principal the next day, and he asks about her success with the pupils. Ben seems to be disobedient, but everyone else seems to be doing well, says Miss Novak. Ben is one of their best pupils, the principal reveals, and he has filed for a full scholarship. She also says that his father died a long time ago and that he only has a single mother. Although Miss Novak is aware of his circumstances, she won't give him the scholarship score until he shows improvement. Ben is later called in by the principal, who speaks with him. She warns him that if he doesn't take nutrition seriously, he might lose his scholarship. Ben is questioned by Miss Novak later in class about why he hasn't been heeding her advice to eat more mindfully. In response, he expresses concern that he won't be able to focus on his academics. Miss Novak, however, reassures him that the reality is completely the reverse and that this is only a myth. After hearing this, Ben at last admits that he doesn't want to let his mother down because she works so hard to prepare meals for him. Then Miss Novak delivers a speech telling him to quit living his life in order to appease other people. Also, he ought to put more of an emphasis on himself than on living up to his mother's expectations. Ben is unexpectedly moved by her remarks and makes a commitment to alter his eating patterns going forward. Ben is at home in the next scenario when his mother is cooking him a nice steak. She tells him that he shouldn't starve himself in order to receive a scholarship when he refuses to eat. Mom says perhaps he could attend another school. Ben, though, asserts that he doesn't want to give up and feels better about eating less. While she is sorry to hear this, his mother advises him not to push himself too hard. The next day, Elsa and Ragna receive praise from Miss Novak for their development. She also informs them about clubzero, a global organization of people who abstain from all food. She says that the reason it's a secret is that the broader population isn't ready to comprehend it. When they inquire as to whether this is feasible, Miss Novak replies that she is a part of clubzero as well. Hearing this makes the girls very happy, and they want to know how they can participate. In the evening, Fred and Miss Novak go to an opera theater and have a good time. Despite their age difference, it seems that they have started liking each other. The next day, at another session, Miss Novak advises the group to stop eating and describes its supposed benefits to the mind and body. She also makes them hold hands and chant a strange verse. Following this, the students stop eating completely and use various excuses to avoid food. When their parents catch wind of this, they become worried. When Ben's mother shows up at the school one day, she worries about Miss Novak taking advantage of her kid. The principal contends that the kids aren't starving themselves, rather, they are just engaging in mindful eating. She asserts that Miss Novak is a responsible educator who would never intentionally hurt her pupils. Following their chat, the principal stops by the cafeteria to see how the children are doing. Ben and his pals play with the food as if they're eating while feigning happiness in her presence. The principal, who is relieved, walks out without realizing that the pupils later discard their food in the trash. Fred is unconscious when Ben goes to wake him up one morning. Fred is brought to the hospital as soon as he calls the police. His diabetes has gotten worse because, as it turns out, he stopped taking his insulin. In addition, his father shows up and meets with the principal to talk about his son's welfare. According to the principal, she was unaware that Fred was missing his insulin shots. Though he knows it's not her fault, the father urges her to keep an eye on Fred, who has become incredibly frail and skinny. The dance instructor informs the principal that he spotted Miss Novak out on a date with Fred in the scene that follows. He claims there will be a major controversy if Fred's parents find out. Afterwards, during a staff meeting at the school, everyone agrees that it is improper for a teacher to meet with a student in private after hours. They also discuss how, since Miss Novak arrived, the kids seem to have developed eating disorders. Then, in order to prevent things from getting worse, they decide as a group to get her expelled from school. After that, Miss Novak meets with the principal, who fires her for her interactions with the student. The latter just walks out in a fit of rage, making no attempt to defend herself. After that, she goes to her shrine and addresses it as if it were an omnipotent mother. Miss Novak claims that this is how the all-powerful mother has abandoned her. She says she's so close to her goal that she doesn't want to give up. When they next meet, Miss Novak asks Fred if he still has faith in her. She gives him a quick kiss after he says yes. The action then moves to Elsa's house, where she is acting as though she is skipping meals. It also shows her mother giving the dog food covertly. When her father realizes this, he becomes enraged and makes Elsa eat a slice of sausage. She goes along with it grudgingly but quickly dashes to the toilet to throw up. Conversely, we witness Ben and Ragna in their houses, none of them eating. When Elsa's parents bring her lunch the following morning, she starts off by lecturing against overconsumption. She asserts that she can live entirely off of her willpower and that the human body does not need food. She eventually eats some food after her parents keep pressing her to do so. To her parents' dismay, she suddenly throws up everything and eats it all again. The parents of these missiled kids later get together to talk about the state of affairs. Since Miss Novak is the only person who can convince the students to change their opinions, they think about giving her a call. Ben's mother is against this since she is aware of the woman's manipulating nature. The others sympathize with her worries, yet they too fear that their kids may perish if they don't start feeding right away. The parents eventually send their kids off at Miss Novak's house. Helen is in Switzerland on vacation, so the only people here are Fred, Ben, Ragna, and Elsa. Despite their pallid and feeble appearance, they all start talking endlessly about how strong and wonderful they feel. They are now prepared to enter clubzero, where they will dwell forever, Miss Novak says, praising their deeds. She claims that they are free and won't be influenced by their parents or the society. Fred goes to Ben's house in the evening to spend Christmas with his family. The two boys enjoy the delectable supper that Ben's mother prepares for them without any hesitation. Ragna and Elsa, on the other hand, are also shown merrily consuming food with their parents. When the parents try to wake them up the following morning, they are not there. In a letter, the teenagers said that they had moved on to a better place. They further request that their parents not search for them because it will be in vain. Miss Novak is shown escorting the four to an open field in another scene. After then, they gather in a circle and clasp hands to carry out a ritual of some sort. The parents gather for a crucial meeting at the school in the last scene. Helen joins the group after arriving as well from her vacation. Her parents are concerned and want to know what transpired in those nutrition sessions. They want to know if their kids are still alive and where Miss Novak took them. However, a brainwashed Helen stands by her teacher and tells the parents that it would be them who die. She turns to face the camera at the end of the film and says they can be saved, but they need to have faith.